Hey, what's up, folks? This is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, channel that always has your back and tells it like it is. Well, you know it's a Friday when I've got your Jasmy weekly update. So in today's video, we got a big piece of information that we're going to be covering in terms of the Biomedica solutions announcement. So this is a new use case out there for Jasmy. We're also going to hit on the big items, as always, the circulating supply. I'm going to be talking about that and maybe giving you some insights on the circulating supply and what I think is going on, why those numbers aren't updating on CoinMarketCap. I also want to talk about the nationalistic side of Jasmy a little bit in the final thoughts today. We're going to go into that a little bit because I think that's worth mentioning as well. For a week with not a lot of news, I do feel like we've got some pretty interesting insights here, and we've got a chart that looks like it could be poised to break out. So with that, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll be made aware whenever I post time-sensitive content just like this. And now, let's get it going. What's up, everybody out there around the world, wherever you're at? Good to be with you on this Friday here in the US. Wanted to give you an update on everything with Jasmy that has occurred over the past week. We actually had a Hara sighting, had a substantial update there. Got a few other things to cover here. And so, as always, just wanted to start combing through the feed, give you an update on those items, and kind of give you some background info, all right? So first of all, I wanted to start here with this tweet from Jasmy US. This is the recording of our weekly call that we do roughly every Sunday. So that's a recording from last Sunday. We'll probably have one again this Sunday. I haven't seen the meeting invite go out yet, but when it does, I will be reposting it on my Twitter feed here. Dip Metaverse, we're going to cover him towards the end in terms of moving circulating supply, so we'll get back to that. Captain Jasmy said, nice to see Jasmy up over 20% in the last few days. Still a long way to go, but it's for sure a journey that we're on, right? And so I think the reason I wanted to highlight this post is you really kind of saw for a couple days there what could happen with Jasmy when they're no longer diluting the supply, right? So they're going to keep diluting the supply until they get all the coins out there and they get their 70 plus exchanges, which is what they said for their roadmap for fourth quarter. So I fully expect that to happen. I also think that when we get the one more exchange in Japan, they're going to go on all of them, and then that's even more liquidity. So hopefully it happens sooner rather than later, but in the meantime, it's still a solid DCA on this one. When they're finally done, though, this thing is definitely going to move. So keep an eye on that, all right? Moving on up here. So let's see here. I posted this post right here. Lots of noise around Jasmy. Here's what's important. So just to recap for anybody who doesn't know this stuff, or for anybody who does, this is kind of how I see it. So September 1 is the pre-registration date for the fan token. This is for Seigen Tosu. So once that is all official, that's kind of the testing ground for the fan token, right? So we'll really see what happens. That's where they're going to build their profile that they can then sell to other teams down the road, right? After that, we've got fourth quarter DD coin /wallet /70 plus centralized exchanges that I already mentioned. If you saw the video I did yesterday on IoTex, as well as the video I did prior to that one where I covered measurable data token, both of those coins have wallets. So Jasmy needs the wallet, and that's sort of something that we're missing right now, that we need the wallet to come out, right? We also have, as I mentioned, +1 Japan centralized exchange equals greenlist. 2023, the Hokkaido ballpark. That's a really big one. Also, there's Panasonic implications with that ballpark, and there's also some Panasonic implications with the big headline this week. So we'll talk about that in a second. Secure PC, near 50 businesses. Proof of concept Japan, 32,000 hodlers. Mount Jasmy, right? So moving on up here, so Brian mentioned Revolut. So this was per Be Rich here. Revolut, the financial super app with 20 million customers worldwide, is listing Jasmy. And that's a pretty big deal also, because they are all over the place. I know our friends across the pond, you guys are using this app. I previously have not used it, but I am going to look into that. I think from what I heard, they said that Jasmy was one of 20 or 30 currencies on there, something like that. So it's not a huge group. So that's definitely a positive development going on there. And then I also wanted to mention as well, I saw today that it looks like Voyager in particular is they've got a date now to let people start taking out USD out of their account if they want to. So for anybody who's holding their Jasmy on Voyager, hopefully that isn't too much far or further off that perhaps you will get access to your Jasmy again. So just a little side note there, right? Moving on up, so Zippy Crypto. Jasmy partnership with Centrality will be great. They've been building a healthy partnership for a few years. And he mentions here that Centrality business partners also are McDonald's. So this is really funny. So in this post here, it's the Centrality site. And sure enough, they list McDonald's as a business partner, and Jasmy is right above that. So that's very fascinating. And I'm gonna elaborate more on that in a minute, but there's some sort of like nationalistic implications with Jasmy. Maybe I'll talk about that in the final thoughts. We'll give you that little snippet of info. So I've got something to say there. All right, so moving on up. This was a great post by Kadir Khan. Give him a follow if you're not yet. He's been doing a ton of research lately, especially on CT. He's a member of our group where we do tons and tons of research, so give him a shout. With that, he did a full KYC on Jasmy. Tons of information that he posted here on BJIT. That is the software company that Katsumasa Sato is also the head of there. So there's some big time implications with that. They are worldwide. They've been around, I want to say like 20 plus years when I looked into them. But he's got all of that in here. It's a string of numerous screenshots of all this information. So check that out if you haven't yet. This is just kind of funny right here. Thanks, Blake. Shout out to you. So Blake went ahead and posted that he thought his Jasmy Clubhouse NFT kind of looked like me without the beard. So I guess it kind of does now that I'm looking at him. Maybe if I dress like that and get some darker glasses, I could probably pass. So thank you, Blake. Appreciate that. All right, so here we go. So here was the big headline from Hara. So he says, Jasmy will begin joint development of a cell culture system with Biomedica solution. We'll further enhance and utilize our personal data locker in terms of safeguarding and effectively using the most core information of cells. So I've seen across the community, I think maybe there was some bearishness that came out on this, especially on Reddit. And I don't really understand why. So here's kind of how I view it. So Katsumasa Sato has said in the video interview that I referenced last week, where he's sitting next to the bear with the light bulb on its head, that Jasmy is a big idea. And they don't know exactly where it's going to be 5-10 years from now. Okay. But they're kind of developing the various use cases and they're throwing them out there and they're seeing what sticks, I think is what it is, right? So with each use case, it really just kind of comes down to, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? So in other words, is the effort that they're putting into that use case worth it in terms of profit coming back to Jasmy? And that's what will determine which use cases succeed and which ones fail, okay? So not all of them will probably pan out, but the ones that do, we'll start to see that once they get actual numbers around them. So we talked about it for quite a while that Jasmy is really kind of, in a beta test phase. They're sort of in the proving ground, the proof of concept. That's what they have to be able to do. And so this is yet another one of those potential cases. So is this a, let's say, distraction from any of the other use cases? No, it's just another path that they could potentially go with Jasmy with the personal data locker. Every single IoT project that I have reviewed, I have yet to see a single one that has the personal data locker. So that's the key piece of technology that is unique to Jasmy. Okay. Also they've got the secure knowledge communicator, the secure guardian. So there are some things that make Jasmy very unique that separate it from the pack. So anyhow, there we go. All right. So I wanted to show you the PR Times article. So here it is on this post for Biomedica solution. So the most important thing here, so it says that they plan to start offering a trial version early next year, 2023. So again, 2023 is going to be a big year with the Hokkaido ballpark as well with Jasmy, with the Nippon Ham Fighters. We've also got that Nippon travel agency that they're a part of. So there's a lot of different ways this thing could go. But they said down here, so at this time, we have jointly established a new cell processing integrated management system with BMS, which has long experience in this field and the latest cell culture technology and management know-how, so that we can utilize the technology and know-how we have cultivated so far for the field of cell culture. So that's a bit of a tongue twister here in the US. I think it's the translation from Japanese to English is a little off there. All right. So anyway, it says I decided to develop in the future by incorporating Jasmy's platform, Jasmy Secure PC. Okay, so that's important. So we have Secure PC. Then it says Jasmy Personal Data Locker, NFT, consortium type blockchain into cell processing integrated management system. Okay, so they want to incorporate Jasmy into their system. So moving forward with Biomedica Solutions. So it got me kind of curious. Who actually is Biomedica Solutions, right? So here we go. So Biomedica Solutions is an independent company from Panasonic Healthcare Co. Okay. Limited, formerly Sanyo Electric Co. It's funny, for somebody like me that remembers all of these various brands, from when I was a kid on. Obviously, I know Panasonic, I know Sanyo as well. So a top manufacturer of cell culture processing facilities and equipment sales. So that's key right there. So a top manufacturer of cell culture processing facilities and equipment sales. So this is a business that is making a medical product. This is not a person who has a medical history. We've talked about that a lot on our various Jasmy calls, the different ways it could go. And I'll touch on that in a minute with a tweet that I also did earlier in the week. But that is not what this is. This is basically medical equipment. And they're saying with their medical equipment sales, they think they could use the Jasmy platform, the blockchain, the NFTs, the personal data locker, as well as Secure PC. Okay, so all of that is in here. Now, the other question I had was, okay, so we announced this new use case. How big is this company? So when I looked at them further under Crunchbase, it looks like they're listed under 11 to 50 employees right now work for this company in particular. And going back here over to their page, it said, where was it? It said they were on the third floor. Here we go. So Sato Bio Incubator Building, third floor, west side of Osaka head office. So there you go. So they're on the third floor of this building, and they have somewhere between 11 and 50 employees. So regardless, I thought that was a good thing. It's yet another use case. We'll see what happens. Who knows? All right, moving on up. So here was my post that I just referenced where I said, if Jasmy can overcome the legal hurdle of medical records, imagine the possibilities for Edge AI and the PDL. I think this is the way of the future. I think the way that we do marketing as well as medicine right now is like the dumb way, right? And in our group that we do every once a week there, one of the guys that usually calls in is Dr. Shaw, and he is like an ER surgeon. Okay. And he tells us, he says, yeah, none of these medical databases that we use here at the hospital talk to each other. Nothing ever talks to each other, right? A patient's medical history is just sort of, there's always gaps in it, right? Especially when you change doctors move, they retire, whatever. All of that stuff happens. So, what we've talked about is what if you could have somebody's medical profile, right? So if they had the medical profile of, let's say, me, in their PDL, and they said, all right, so what do we have here? 40-year-old white male, weight 205 pounds, glasses, check, wears glasses sometimes. What else is in family history? Heart disease, let's say, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatever the case may be. As well as they could look back and they could say, well, is Jesse on any prescription medications? At this time, no. But, does he smoke cigarettes? No. Does he drink alcohol? Yes. Every once in a while he drinks alcohol, Does he drink coffee? Yes, every single day. Okay, great. So all of that stuff is in there in the profile. And then what they could do theoretically by applying the Edge AI is they could come up with solutions that we're not even aware of yet, right? So they could say, well, the way Jesse's headed by 45, he's going to be in trouble. He probably needs to start taking the following medicine. So they could put that in there, right? And so you can really develop a much smarter way of treating a patient as they age throughout their life, and it would be tailored towards them. Everybody is 100% unique, 100% different. We've all got different backgrounds, families, sex, race, you name it. Like everybody's different, right? So if Edge AI could look at your profile, whatever that may be, and come up with solutions that could help you, then that's really huge. So that's different from what Biomedica is. Biomedica is simply manufacturing medical equipment. But I think if they could overcome those various, we talk about in the US, the HIPAA laws, if they could overcome that, who knows? Really, usually what it comes down to for medical records is, does the patient give you permission to access these records? Well, in the case of the personal data locker, yes, you are giving permission because you're self-entering all of this information, right? So potentially a lot more to come on that topic if they can really expand. I'd like to see what they do specifically in the Japanese market on the medical side, because I think they could do a ton with that, okay? So anyhow, moving on up. Okay, here we go. Dip Metaverse. This is what I want to talk about. So Dip Metaverse mentioned on August 4th here. So circulating supply update, 36,467,951,492. One of the things with this that we've talked about a lot is how CoinMarketCap doesn't update the circulating supply. And from everything I've read on different currencies, it's not just Jasmy. There's other currencies out there that they don't update it. Their algorithm does not update the circulating supply. I'm not really sure why. There's like a disconnect somewhere, and somehow we're not getting a straight answer. We never get straight information from CoinMarketCap either in terms of when those numbers are updated, how many times a year they look at it, when it was updated last, all that stuff, right? But the other telling thing is that if you look at the circulating supply number in CoinMarketCap, and you hover over, there's like a blue check mark, you hover over it. It says circulating supply is 30,800,000,000, which is self-reported by the team. Now, they haven't updated it since. So obviously, they're significantly over that, because in Dip Metaverse spreadsheet, we track every single transaction on Etherscan. We can see exactly what's going on, right? So they're way over that. So the question is, why are they not updating this, right? And I've seen people ask sort of this question, reach out to me. Well, Jesse, if suddenly the market cap is higher, does that mean the coin's worth more? No, it doesn't. It just means the market cap's higher. So, market cap is circulating supply, whatever that number is, times price equals market cap, right? So if we suddenly have a higher circulating supply, that doesn't necessarily mean that the coin is worth more. But what it would mean is that instead of Jasmy looking like, it's in the top 500, it's close to the top 100. Okay, so it's near IoTex that I covered yesterday. All right. So that's where that implication is. So the question then becomes well, why is it still low? Why is that off? Why isn't there a more impetus to push this higher? And I think the reason why is when you start actually talking about the personal data locker and the various businesses that would use this through license, everything that we've ever seen says, well, you need to purchase that license with Jasmy coin. That's how this works, okay? So the businesses need to buy with Jasmy. So over time, they want the value to go up, which is the second part here by Dip Metaverse, specifically talking about their KPIs that the team did confirm. This is Danny from the Jasmy team, did confirm with us that the KPI numbers, their goals, is the expected for the price to be about 1787 by 2026. So obviously we're 4 years away from that. That's a tall order, a very tall order. And the reason why it's a tall order is that everything ties to Bitcoin. So for that to happen, Bitcoin, first of all, would have to be worth a heck of a lot more than it's worth now. And then Jasmy would have to make significant gains. So we'll see what happens, right? We'll see. Even if it didn't happen, there are still significant gains to be made here with Jasmy. Okay. So, overall, again, going back to the question of, well, why isn't that circulating supply updated? So are they suppressing it on purpose? Maybe. I don't know. I say this with my wife. They definitely might be. They could be maybe, right? That's kind of where we're at on that. So I wouldn't doubt it for a second. And we've also talked kind of in private groups about the website issues as well along the same front. Okay, so let me show you an example. So for anybody who's been going to Jasmy.Global, let me show you here. Here's what it looks like. So error 522. So this one doesn't even work right now. But the main page, the Japanese page, works just fine. And by the way, the Japanese page is looking better and better and better. And a lot of people who have been following this for a long time have said, why does the page look so crappy, right? It's just not done very well. It's like, a kid in middle school can make a better website. And part of that could be that they're sort of keeping this thing under wraps until it blows up. And that's the impression that I get when I see these various things. So anyway, that's just another one right there. All right, so moving on here. So I did want to show you the TradingView chart on what's going on with Jasmy. All right, free trial, go away. Okay, so here's the current Jasmy chart. And I'm going to zoom in on the top part here in a second, but I just kind of want to show you this this other area here kind of down below. So this is the market cipher down below. And you can see right now we're above baseline and we got a green dot, okay? You can also see here in the stock RSI, we got this blue line about to jut upwards. So it kind of looks like we're about to break to the upside, okay? So if you look at the main chart here, we have been in this sort of descending triangle since mid-May. It is now August, and look where we're at right now. It kind of looks like we're about to break out of this thing. So if I was a betting person, and this isn't financial advice, it looks to me like Jasmy wants to break out. Okay. Now, will it break out? Well, obviously, Bitcoin and the rest of the market affects this, and we'll see what happens on that front. But you see this blue line here. So this is the 200-day moving average. So I've said all along that this line has to get a heck of a lot closer to the green line and the red line. That's the 50-day and the 20-day moving average for it to flip bullish. Now, why I highlight this is because it's getting lower and lower here on the 200-day. So the closer these all get together, the higher the odds that it flips bull. All right. So I think it's looking to break out of this triangle. Where it goes from there to be determined. But it looks like it wants to break out. So what is going to impact this is whether they are diluting with more coins while it's trying to do this or not. And that will determine probably how far it breaks out from here. Okay. That's my view. All right. Now, lastly, I wanted to go over to Etherscan and simply just show you the hodler wallets are at 32,194. I think it's possible that we've sort of flatlined maybe a little bit over the past couple of days. And it seems to me that I think the reasoning behind that is that there really just hasn't been a lot of news. Hara has been pretty quiet overall. And the only thing we had with this Biomedica news, and some of the community took that in a bearish way that, oh, well, now they're doing this. Well, what about everything else, right? The way I view it, like I said earlier, it's just one more use case. So some use cases won't pan out, some will, and the ones that bring in the profit are the ones that are going to be the ones that they pursue. Okay, so that is it for the full update here. I'm going to wrap everything up now with the final thoughts and bring it on home. All right, so now that we're in the final thoughts, I want to take a moment first to talk about the nationalistic side of Jasmy. So what I want to hit on right now is that Japan, by all accounts, has been a very challenging environment for cryptocurrency projects, especially projects that start up, right? There's a reason that Jasmy is referred to as Japan's Bitcoin, okay? So it's been a very challenging project for them, and if you look at the various developments within the Jasmy project all along the way, they've very tightly coincided with the government of Japan and Prime Minister Kishida's agenda, okay? So what I'm getting at with all of this is that there is a nationalistic, a pride part of Jasmy. In the video that I did last week, I mentioned an AMA with Kunitake Ando, where he was talking about he felt that Japan didn't have any tier 1 tech companies on par with GAFA, for example. That's how he felt about it. And so there is a nationalistic side of this that they want to bring Japan back to the forefront. And so my point in this whole train of thought here is that they very easily could have taken this project and started it somewhere else, right? They could have started this project in Singapore. There are a ton of cryptocurrency projects in Singapore. They could have started it in South Korea. There's numerous places in Asia that they could have started this project that would have been a heck of a lot easier overall. But they didn't. They didn't do that. This is a Japan first project. And when you look at the marketing and you really start to dig into this, you can see that it is truly a Japan first project, okay? So I think that's worth making a point about. For all of us around the world, yes, we're investors, and yes, we want it to do well, we want it to succeed. I know in our personal group, we've got people from all over the planet, but they're really trying to focus on Japan specifically to build the currency, to build the project there, to prove it. The proof of concept is all Japan related, okay? Now, what's interesting in this week's news was the Biomedica Solutions is a, let's say it's not tied to Panasonic, but it's an offshoot from Panasonic, okay? Panasonic is another massive company in Japan. Panasonic is tied to the Hokkaido ballpark, which Jasmy is tied to through the Nippon Ham Fighters, and obviously Jasmy has a partnership with the Nippon Travel Agency. So you can kind of see how all these little dots connect all over the place. But that's another huge company, and they're doing it in Japan first. So maybe that's what I'm trying to say is Japan first, I think, is a underlying theme here. Now, in some of the things that have driven us crazy, you know, for those of us around the world, like the website, for example, you know, it was not that great at first. Then there was the Jasmy.Global site. Now the Jasmy.Global site's pretty much been offline for like a week. So is it coming back? I don't know. No updates on it. Who knows? They've said that they wanted to post numbers there, but were those porting in through, you know, an API? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like they were manually entering whatever was in there, and there weren't ever any official numbers. Now, the regular website is looking better and better, so maybe they're just transitioning to that. But the point in all of this is, you know, I think there's a bit of purposefulness in the website as well as the circulating supply, that they're keeping this under the wraps. They really are. And I think that as time goes on, eventually they're going to have to just let it go, and that will indeed happen. Okay, so adding the new Biomedica partnership is just simply another partner who's got medical supplies who would then be using the Jasmy platform. So that's really nothing to be bearish about, and that doesn't take away anything from any of the other Jasmy projects like the fan token, you know, like I said, the Nippon Travel Agency, the Happiness Project, you know, there's all kinds of things going on, right? So I don't think it took away from that. In terms of that circulating supply, they have been adding a lot of coins lately, okay? So I think it is important to lastly touch on the chart. So the chart has been in a descending triangle pretty much since mid-May. So we've got June, July, now we're into August. 3 months we've been in that, and it looks like we're poised to break out of it. So the question is how far do we break out if they continue to dilute, which by all accounts, it seems like they will, as they announced that Revolut listing that it's being listed on there. But it could still go on a little run here. So keep an eye on Jasmy right now, as it looks like we may be leaving these current low prices where we're at for a little while, okay? So my prediction is I think that we will bump up out of the triangle, but, you know, the flip side of that is all it takes is some negative news somewhere to tear down Bitcoin, and then the whole market goes with it. So for anybody who doesn't really understand the implications of Bitcoin, these projects are not independent. They just aren't. And the reason why is because all those various Bitcoin pairs all over the place, that when Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down. So if Bitcoin, on the other hand, is on its way back up, then Jasmy could definitely make a serious run here. So keep an eye on that. Overall, it's been a solid week. Not a lot of news out there, so we'll see what's going on under the surface. My hunch tells me that they're probably working on DD Coin. They're probably working on the wallet. They're probably working with additional partners. As I mentioned, you know, they announced that they got near the 50 businesses supposedly that they're working with. One thing that they did do is on the website, they took Vio out of the partners list, which is really odd. And that's really odd. I don't know if I had mentioned this publicly, but it's really odd because Kunitake Ando started Vio, number one. They also have Secure PC preloaded onto Vio. So we'll see where that goes. That's very interesting. That's got me, you know, wondering what's happening there with Vio. So anyhow, more to come on that front, but never a dull moment in Jasmy research, okay? So that being said, make sure to follow all the various guys out there in CT if you're on CT that post research all the time. Dip Metaverse, Brian, Kadir Khan, Jasmy US, Captain Jasmy, the list goes on and on. Blake, give them all a follow. Those are the guys that really kind of connect some of these dots, and without everybody working together, I mean, we're just kind of lost. So, you know, big shout out to all of them and all their hard work. Keep an eye out for the call that will, as far as I know, be going on yet again on Sunday. For me here in the US, I am on Eastern Time US, and it's at 5:30 my time. So wherever that translates to wherever you are, you can try and catch it live, or you can just play the recording later for the call, okay? So that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you have a great weekend. Don't forget that I am also on Twitter at KIR Finance, where you can always find me tweeting and retweeting. I'm also on Patreon. If you want to help support the channel, there's all kinds of ways you can do it on there. Check that out. I've got the website. Just follow the QR code right here to take you right to it. You can read my blog if you want, financial blog. I've always got all kinds of different things I'm posting there, not just necessarily cryptocurrency. And lastly, for a friendly reminder, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, channel that always says your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.